And you can have a religion, have a culture, have a way, and at the same time be an instructor or a kiter or whatever. They never had a year like this. They never had like this a group of friends, like you would go at school and you would have fun and you would help each other and you would be sharing a sport and a passion. When you see them starting to have the first smile of riding or the first like downwinds or the emotion and the happiness, even before, is already like super satisfying and super motivating.
Welcome to Mermaid Mode. I hope you like the new introduction. And this is episode 10, so I decided to do something a little bit different on the introduction on this one. Thank you so much for listening to all of the previous episodes, and I hope you did. And it's really cool that I can be in episode 10 already. It's very exciting, actually. And this episode is very close to my heart. I hope you're going to listen to the entire thing. It's quite long. Go on a walk, go for a run, for a bike ride, or just sit back, relax, and just watch some of the visuals as well that are attached to this episode. Today I'm going to talk to Leilani from Rise with the Wind. It's an organization that helps women from the underprivileged backgrounds to gain IKEO certification, become kitesurfing instructors, learn English as well, all done within a year, in order to actually improve their livelihood and improve the livelihoods of their communities around them and inspire girls to become kitesurfers, but also to become something that they might have not aspired to become before. So, long story, but please tune in and listen to the entire thing. Let's dive in. Leilani, well, welcome to Mermaid Mode. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And can you just tell me where you are? Because it looks really, really cool in the background. That's reflected in the
So
window.
I'm in Montpellier, in south of France, just in my apartment for now.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And I'm having you here on the podcast because you're part of a project that's called Rise with the Wind. And it's a really cool project. I want you to tell it in your words. And I know that you also mentioned that you would really like to focus on the girls who are part of the project. But before we start talking about this, maybe we should start with your story and where you're coming from. Tell me a little bit about yourself and what's your background?
Okay. So it's a long story. So originally I studied engineering in the south of France, and then I worked into marketing in big corporation in France, and then I asked to be expat in Australia. I was performing, but something inside of me was always like, I need to do something more. I remember my manager asked me, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I had like two scenarios, like one being a manager driving like positive changes in big corporation, or two would be like to be a social business entrepreneur. And actually, because I always have been obsessed by like your job is the way you impact the world. So like for me, it's important that my job, what I do, is like impacting like the world around me in a positive way, because it's like how you spend your money every day. It's like how you vote for this world, you know. But somehow it didn't like ended up like I wanted. So at some point, I decided to face my bigger fear, and my biggest fear was to start from a blank page. Because I guess like a lot of women in general, I did everything right, you know, as a good student at school, having good grades, doing the engineering thing. I was in my top 10 in my promotion. Then I entered a corporate job. The contract was signed even before I had my diploma. And and then I was having like changing jobs, graduate programs, whatever. And somehow I was like, I never had a moment where I could like just pause and be totally free, no having plan. So I decided that was the moment. So I decided to start from zero. And I put some saving aside. I was okay with this amount of saving. I can last this amount of time. And now we go. And I went like, okay, now I'm going to kite surf every day. That's going to be the plan. And 2 weeks later, I broke my foot doing a kite loop back roll. Yeah, I broke my fibula, so I ended up
Oh my God.
with scratches. So I was in Australia. My visa was ending because I left my job, so I had to leave my visa also.
Mm.
So in 2 months, my visa was ending. I left my apartment, so I was just with my four-wheel drive traveling Australia with scratches. So luckily, I had good friends, good community of kite surfer that's straight ahead, and also friends who helped me like say, yeah, you can stay home and for now. And somehow like even though when I tell it like this, it looks terrible. Somehow I was kind of fine. I was like, I'm still better now, and I was so focusing on to like, okay, what can I create next? And what is funny is that when I was leaving, I was telling to my bosses and my colleagues, like I was like, I want to become a barefoot entrepreneur, traveling the world, doing good for others. And I had no clue how I was going to do that, you know. And in my email, goodbye email for my colleagues that I sent to like I don't know 50 people, I was saying like I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I know I want to focus my energy in three things. One is to help women like develop and empower themselves thanks to kite surfing because I realized it gave me like so much power. It helped me gain so much power in my life, like learning that fail is not a problem. You just have to accept to fail like 100 times and you're gonna get to the point if you want to. It helped me like to overcome my fears because yeah, like first you're very scared to go, and then the wind is stronger, so you're scary again, and then you want to do tricks and you're scary again. So each time you have to grow beyond the fear. And I think like for us women who are less educated to that, it was super important. My second point was I wanted to use marketing in a way that could help others rather than just a way to try to sell or to extract things from others. And then I wanted to work around social business and use like business as a way to change, like something that was in my mind for long. And then I decided to go back to France with my family. And I was not ready to settle again, so I decided to go back to kitesurfing world and spend a season teaching in Sicily. And I kind of started to like this life way more simple. And I was like, in the end, like, do I really need to make it that complicated? Like somehow now I'm like at the place where I like to be, where I used to wait for to go on holidays. And my objective was to go back to Brazil. So I came back to Brazil after the season in Sicily. And I spent like a lot of time kiting, making the most of it. But now it was like what 9 months I was traveling and kiting a lot. And I made this. I was called as a freelancer, as an instructor for a group of French entrepreneur in the tech industry. And a guy came to me during this moment. I say like, how did you end up like kitesurfing instructor? How does it work? The certification? Because I don't see a lot of women doing this job. And especially when I travel, I see like it's never like it's not often like local people and even less women who own the kitesurfing businesses when it can be like pretty good incomes, especially in some places where maybe you have like $150 per month of income usually, and here like a lesson can be $100 already. And I was like, yeah, that's a really interesting topic, and it's really amazing. Like, so I'd say like, okay, let's sit down and chat about it. And we started to debate about this, and told me like, yeah, I'm gonna meet someone, come with me, and I help him like for answering questions and things like this. And then at some point we say like, told me like, okay, so basically I have a fund where usually I give this money for like marine protection and woman empowerment. And this time I would like to do a project that combine everything. And usually we just like donate to existing project, but this time we would like to start to build everything. And they say like, let's try, we give it a shot. And so of course like was so amazing. So I did my best to to make it happen. And and step by step, he made me meet. So he had someone in charge for this in Paris, in France, and we started to collaborate together, like setting up like budget, and they didn't have like really a kitesurfing expertise also in the equation, so I helped them also into that, and so yeah, we started to launch a first project in Brazil. And because they were happy and it was like going well, we started to set up another project in Zanzibar. And somehow we started to do another one. Like we started to do a collab in Morocco, and now we open another one in Mexico, and now we're gonna open another one in Brazil, a second one in Brazil. So in like 1.5 years, we are like 4 or 5 projects opening. So that was a bit of my personal story and reaching to to this to the beginning of the Rise project.
Yeah, for sure. It like segues very technically, and I want to just come back a little bit, maybe on your personal story as well, before we get into the project. And something that you mentioned twice already, kind of like the first thing that you had this life where you kind of had it all figured out. You had the high paying job and everything, and then you just decided to leave it all and just do something from scratch. And then another point where you said that you broke your foot basically kite surfing. So, um, like, how do you get over? How do you continue going? How do you get over that fear? You've dropped everything, and then something that you really liked as well. Like, it's to me, it sounds like as if the universe is sending you a sign saying it's like, don't do it. You know, how do you actually put this behind you and just continue going and saying it's like, well, I don't care. I'm still gonna do it because that's what I want to do.
So before I left my job, I started to set up a strategy. So I passed my IKEA certification
Mm,
when I was on holidays of my job. And I was like, at least I have this. So whatever happen next, I can earn my money and go in a place and teach kite for a couple of months, and I have time to figure out. So basically, before making the decision, I started to set this up. So I did my IKEA, and I had a little bit of money aside that I put together. I saved the last 6 months. I just save. I was not eating restaurant, just save. So like I was buying myself like a year of freedom. I was like,
mm-hmm,
we always save for a house, we save for something. Why not? We cannot save to buy ourselves a year of freedom. So it was like a very strong intuition. And I strengthen it with a rational plan of, okay, then concretely, how do I do to survive? Okay, I put a bit of money aside and I get my IQ certification. So like this, I can have an income, whatever happen. And so then it makes the thing like the fear way less. I think like in general, that's something I've learned, but fear, when it's like blurry in your head, is always have control. But if you put it on the paper and you say, okay, what is my fear? Not having income, not having a place to live, not having. And you're like, okay, what can I do then? And so there I also mixed, so I was doing also after like teaching, so guide, so then you have an accommodation, so you don't have to care for that, so you have less cost. I also did a bit of volunteering, so I spent a month in a posada helping out, and so I have like free accommodation and breakfast, so you tackle also the income problem or the place to live. So it's really like what I think helped me was to, okay, I have a fear, I recognize it, and then I make a concrete plan to kind of tackle it or face it. And then it's make it already like way less scary. And then the most difficult also was the indecision moment, when you're like, okay, I'm going to give my resignation. I don't know. I don't know. And then at some point I was so tired of all this thing. I was like, okay, I give it and now it's done. And for 1 week I couldn't sleep. It was so scary. But then after your brain is totally switching to like, okay, now it's done now, and just your brain start to only see the opportunities, because before you just see what she's losing and all the overthinking around it. But then when you make this decision and you move on, then you're like, your brain is just switching to, okay, now it's just opportunity mode, what I want to create, what I want to do. And then when I broke this fit, actually it was really interesting, because I think it was sometimes I feel like it's a bit weird, maybe the universe that tell you, okay, I was so sure about how it's going to happen. I was like, okay, now I quit. I'm going to travel, do kite surfing every day. And I'm going to, become a consultant into social business, or like I had some plan to become a consultant on social business. And it's going to work like this, like this, like this. So it's like my ego was still running on, and thinking like he can control and know what to do. And it's like at that moment when I did my injury, it's like the universe telling me like, no, now you stop, you have a break, and you accept that you're not into control. And so that moment of slowing down, it's a moment where I discover a lot like meditation. I took the time to learn a lot of things about how the mind works. And I think that's thing that wouldn't have happened if I was still into my rush of my ego thinking that it's gonna work out like this, like this, like this. So I think it's this injury was a little bit like important, and I felt like other people also got injuries at this moment of their life when they're like, they are so much rushing into because they have so strong belief of what's gonna happen. They are in control, and your body is like saying like no, and because you have to accept, yeah, that you don't have all the control, and you have to accept to let go a little bit. So it was in the end, I feel like it was a good exercise. And I was still motivated by doing so much things. So even with my broken leg, I was doing my stuff, organizing my events, having the help of my beautiful community. So it didn't feel that bad because I was getting the taste also of creating a new life. So, so yeah, and then just postpone a little bit the plan, but
But that's such a beautiful way to reframe it as well, and to first of all to actually pre-plan before you just go out of the door, because I think a lot of social media romanticizes this notion of leaving your job as if you just go to work one day and you just leave. I think it's very important to emphasize that you do have a degree in kind of like the background in business and planning, so you know what you're doing. You can actually create quite a good plan for your life, and that you also saved like a safety cushion for it. And then yeah, the thing that you say with your injury, that it just gives you the opportunity to actually ground yourself and to slow down a little bit and take a look back, but also realize that you also have to factor some of this in. And that's what a lot of young people might actually also lack, where they're just like, I can do whatever, I can get over the world, and then what do you do now when you're grounded? That's really beautiful. That's really cool.
yeah, I totally agree with your point, because I don't recommend people to quit like this, like I did, kind of. But from the outside, it looks like it was irrational. Like all my colleague would be like, "What the hell is she doing? Is she realizing what she's doing?" But from when I look back, it was like a strategy in the end. Yeah, because
Mm,
I did the certification, so I have plan B. I knew I had also study. I had a resume and experience in a big company, plus I had this money aside. So it's not like I came out one day and like this. So in general, I do not recommend to people to do that, because it can be a decision that is driven also by emotion. And then emotion is not really you either. So, and in the end, like I got reached out by people after my changes and everything. They reach out to me to like, oh, how do you do and everything. And I didn't feel also ready to like really advise them, because the same copy paste is not good, for everybody has different life, different needs, different setup. I didn't have kids. What do you do if you have kids? You know?
mm.
So that's why also aside also I worked I train into like helping people change like we have a specific process in France that you can pay with like savings from your company, like training, and you can be accompanied by someone that will help you set up these strategies. So that's also something I developed aside. That's another things. um but yeah, I do believe it's important to not romanticize, like to say, because you can take also bad, dangerous decision for your life. But I also believe, like, I mean, like in general, you can always figure out. But I think it's good to be in general, like, surrounded by people that can help you do the right decision, and not, yeah, because I agree that sometimes social media, you want to quit everything the next day. So yeah, I do agree it's good to have a balance into this term of, I think it's good to take risk. But I think it's important to also not take like you're running away from something, or it's your emotion taking the decision. So it's important to have this in mind.
And it also helped that you kind of had not a super clear idea, but a formed idea of what you would like to do. So it's not just leaving and then figuring out or just traveling the world, but you had an idea that you wanted to change, that you wanted to make change in people's lives with your work and everything. And that's really cool as well. And the fact that you also did your Aikido instruction. So you did have like a fallback with teaching kite surfing and everything. How did you actually get into kite surfing? How did you find it? Was it in France or?
Yeah, it was after COVID. We couldn't travel. So it was something that was like, I looked from, because I was studying in Toulouse and I moved to Montpellier, and Montpellier is a very good area for this. And when I
Mm,
was younger, I was doing a little bit of surf in summer and I liked the ocean. And when I arrived there in Montpellier, you cannot do surf because there's not really waves. And I saw this and I was like, it was like kind of attracting me a little bit. But at that moment, I had a boyfriend. I was living in Paris, so every weekend I was away. And then after COVID, I was like, okay, like I cannot travel, and I decided to pay myself like classes for kite. It was the first time I think I was really doing something for myself that was calling me, and no one was like pushing for me. It was not like a boyfriend or something like this. And that was so expensive, you know.
yeah.
I think first time I was putting so much money into a pleasure for myself. And straight away I was like so addicted. I think like second or third lesson, I was like, I accidentally did like 100 meters of riding. It was like, okay, I love it. And then the next time it was terrible. But this feeling, I wanted so much again. So then I took a couple of classes and then I was okay. I bought my gear and it was like terrible. So then I was like, okay, the next year I'm paying myself like a full week intensive classes, 2 hours morning, 2 hours afternoon. And then after this, I will be, independent enough. And so then I did this the next year. I subletted my flat because it's not too far from the ocean, the beach. And with this money, I paid myself a full week of of
Wow.
classes of kiting in Greece. And like this, I was like, okay, now I can go by myself. And then I was like super addicted. Like all my holidays were about this. Yeah, it went super fast because it was just like big addiction.
Yeah. I like how resourceful you are in thinking that I want to go to Greece, so I'm going to sublet my apartment and some of the other things that you've mentioned. I think it's such a good skill as well in what you do. And we're going to get into it as well, like in sourcing the gear for the girls and getting the um, support from the brands and from people around as well. So, yeah, it just kind of comes through naturally from you, I think. Is that kind of part of your character, do you think?
I think I have a side where like I see only possibilities. Like you can say like, okay, I have this idea. And a lot of people will say, no, but it's not possible because of this, 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 this. And me, I will be like, okay, let's find a way. If I like the vision and the end point,
Mm,
then I'm gonna like find the way, to get there. And that's something also I got very inspired by this guy that I met in Brazil. So his name is Jean-Baptiste, the founder of the fund. And I realized like he's this, but like next level because he created a lot of companies, a bunch of companies. And
mm,
I realized he is like this, in the sense like if it doesn't exist, it's not an excuse. Actually, it's a reason for creating it.
yeah,
And it's like, okay, whatever, we test and we go, we try. And so I think this is something that helped me and got enhanced by people around me and seeing it from other people. So I think that's one thing. Yeah, like I don't know if it's a part of character or is it something I think you learn in your mental. Maybe because also my education was had parents that were really like letting me do a lot of things and not really limiting me. So then I guess like even when I was in corporate, often I was like, but why we don't do this? And I was out of the box. Um, but yeah, I think it's something like this. Yeah, about like okay, if you see you have an idea of something looks cool, there is a way. There is a way, even if it's difficult, but you're gonna find a way.
I think this is also a really good segue now to actually talk about the project and talk about you kind of like becoming the mentor to so many other people. Um, I would really like you to tell me how it actually works. So, Rise with the Wind is a project where you help women become certified kitesurfing instructors. And there's a lot of things that are actually involved in that. And it also helps them to change their life from the background that they're coming from. So, I don't want to put words in your mouth if you want to take over and just tell a little bit more about this project.
I think you did very well because sometimes people they struggle to understand, and you, I think the
Surface
first person,
level.
no, but your first person who managed to understand it very well, like this, and like shape it, like say it so well. So basically, it's exactly what you said. So the idea is that so we identify places where the woman's situation could be improved, and also in terms of financial gain, it can make sense. And in these places, then we start to check out what are the win statistics, the potential for development. One of our criteria of the sponsor is that that is not too far from airport, international airports. So that's why like some places, even though it would make sense potentially, like Madagascar, it's like so difficult to access. So that for now we think like the potential for development is a bit more difficult. So the idea is that to grow this woman into places where it makes sense, where they can generate an income. Then the next step is that we go to the place and we start to identify profile. So basically, I go on the ground, I scout from like I go to different guy school. Did you end up to have like girls being interested? Especially like for example, if you look in Zanzibar, it's very difficult to find because it's a Muslim island where originally women are not really working, they're more staying at home. So finding this profile can be like really a hunt. And luckily with the help of the locals and doing word of mouth in the village, sometimes using your social media also, we do a call for candidates, and they can fill up a form. Either they fill up a form, or if we're in a place where there's not much like development of phone or things like this, I directly do by word of mouth. And then I interview like in general like 15 to 20 people depending on the number of people we have. And these interviews are a way for me also to listen, to really understand how it goes, how is the situation of women, how much they earn, what do they want, what are their vision, what do they want for their future. They already tried to get into the sports, or if they already tried to be an entrepreneur on something else, or like really like it's a two-way. It's not really like me interviewing them, but really like me understanding them, and if it could like the project to match with what their life, you know. So really the idea is not to go, okay, we do these things, you fit in, and let's go. It's really to listen. And that's might make also the project very specific, like different by places. Because, for example, in Mexico, it was super interesting because I met in Puerto Morelos this woman that are so much engaged into the protection on their environment. They do like in general, they are into diving, and they are so much knowledge about the coral reef, all the problems with the pollution of the water, and and they're super engaged. They do every weekend like beach cleaning. So it was super interesting to have this profile of women that are already like a big ambassador of the protection environment, and it can transfer this knowledge to the tourists that come and raise their awareness and their education. And that's something very different than in Zanzibar, where it's more like a question of women that wants to be financially independent from their husband, and so it's very interesting because then each project is like, it's a different woman's story. And so, so the idea is like, I connect with this woman, and I also co-build the project with them. Then I'm like, okay, I think it's gonna work like this. What do you think? For example, in Zanzibar, we had a choice between two locations in terms of village. So I was like, do you think it will be okay to travel every day to this place to train? Do you think it will be okay? Because they're gonna be like, there were some Muslim girls with the hijab, and there were some girls, Christian from the mainland that come to the island to get some job. They're gonna be like in bikini. Is it okay in terms of interaction? And it was like, yeah, okay. And actually, it was funny because this is where also I realized like maybe it was me having biased. We think like because they wear hijab, they're gonna be like very. And actually, they were like, oh, good or fine. And
Mm.
and in the end, they ended up being such a good group. They were super supportive to each other and had super stick together. So it was a super nice story. But before I was really trying to, prepare the ground and really try to see if it's going to be okay and try to refocus them. Okay, we have a vision together. We don't care where we come from, but we really about like the vision. We want together to, be the first kind of generation of women being instructor. And then during this year, so in general, we try to hire like local instructor female to give them like the whole basis until the independence. So they have like someone that they can recognize. So it's like a role model. It's not always easy to find. Like in Zanzibar, there was only two of them in the whole Tanzania. But we had the chance to have Eli. She's amazing, and she was a great example for the girls. And she now became the manager of the kite school, because then we worked like, okay, to the kite school, say, okay, we want to work with this instructor. Is it okay if she's gonna be the instructor leading this group? And she ended up, yeah, now being the manager of the kite school where we work. So it's very very nice evolution also. And also because of the language, because sometimes some of the girls they don't speak English at the beginning of the project. And then we also work with local project or teachers to also work on the English part. And then we do also a bit of sustainability education online with like some videos and homework that we send to them throughout the year. And they also work on the theory of IQ, preparing the books, way more time in advance than the usual time, because it gives them like more time to understand the theory and everything. And then if they reach throughout the year, they have like kind of exam where the idea is like, okay, you have like a moment where you're going to be assessing your English level and your kiting level. And if you don't pass it, you can lose the opportunity. So the idea is that they also receive a grant, by the way. They have a monthly grant to give them the time to focus on this training. So they don't have to do a job on the side to cover their cost and in the same time training. Some of the girls, they also kept their job that they were having. And the idea was like, look, like me, I don't care. You do however you want, as far as you reach the objective. If you feel like you can do both, you can do both. It was like it was when I was in corporate, I hated when my manager was on my back telling, yeah, you have to do this, you have to do this. So I'm not going to do the same for other. I think we can work on trust. And the thing is like, okay, we give you the equipment, and then you do, it's up to you. We just unlock, the equipment access, the lesson, a bit of money also you don't have to worry about the money. But then it's on you. It's you own your own growth. And I feel like, for example, me, like when I loved so much kitesurfing, I didn't need to have someone on the back tell me, you have to go kiting. It's like natural because you like it so much. So the
Yeah.
only problem, the difficulty is when you go out of the lesson and you're scared. So that's why I try also to be here at that moment, to help them accompany in this moment of, okay, we have to jump from lesson to independent. And we work this way. And honestly, it worked really well, because, yeah, like the group is sticking, especially in Zanzibar, the group was sticking so well together. So even the school was telling me, yeah, can I come not every day? Because then it's a lot of people in the school. And it was impossible to, they're like, no, we want to go together. So, so it worked really well. And then so they pass the exam, and then the objective is at the end, if they reach all the required level, then we fund them the IQ certification, which we already did for a first group in Brazil and a second group in Zanzibar. Some of them, sometimes they have internship to do. So in Zanzibar, we had two of them that didn't need internship because the examiner like found they were like very good, confident, good level and everything. So that was nice. And then the objective is also then we help them in the next step. So that's also working on now also how we help them also getting the visibility. So we also shoot like a couple of videos, more professional videos to help them develop their social media. Actually, in Brazil, also in the group, we have two of the girls that now work for Duotone Experience. So they are part of the first female working for Duotone Experience. So it's very nice because 1.5 years ago we got them in the program, and one of them, for example, was working in the barracas close to the lagoon of Cawipe, if you might know. Now 1.5 years after, she's working at Journey Experience, which is one of the best I think I can do in terms of career and everything. So it's super exciting. And the others are finishing their internship, and we also help them so what we're working on also is helping them okay, how do you shape an offer? For example, a kite trip, a downwind, what value proposition you can do, how you can be distinct to the others. We also work on a little website. The objective that they can have a personal profile after, so they have a kind of a pro website where people can get in touch with them, like directly through WhatsApp, something like this. So we are working on it. The project is also evolving with the with the needs.
Mm.
So meanwhile, we are building new projects. We're also trying to help them because the objective is really what we say is our main KPI is um, kind of how much we would spend or fund and how much they're able to generate for themselves after. So basically, let's say you spend 100, but if the year after they're able to generate 200 for them, then it's good. So that's the idea, their ability to generate their own incomes after, either through being employed or either by working for themselves or this kind of things, or doing
Mm.
downwind, something like that.
There's a lot of there's a lot in it that you say that they have a year, right? So this is a year-long program.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and in that year, they have to learn to kite surf. Some of them probably need to find out for the first time what kite surfing is, but I guess they do have interest in it when they apply for the program in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
No, I would say in general, the good you always find in this kind of place, you always find some girls who started to learn or got teach a little bit or was asking, so that's when I go, it's the hunt that I do is did you hear about any girl, and then speaking with them, even sometimes when the language is not good, you can see in the eyes, the hunger, the desire, the stars,
Mm.
So then some often it's a lot of intuition. A mix of intuition is gonna match or not. But in general you can feel, when a girl sit and she knows what is it and she has the star in the eyes, it's it's gonna work out. So yeah, in general, they already tried out because they asked someone or they kind of started to, pull something. But, it's not easy because they don't have the gear. Nobody wants to spend time teaching them. No one. So then we just give them the platform and the booster.
Hmm. Yeah. And yeah, so it's a year. They do kite surfing, they do English lessons, they do some business admin, social media. It's a lot to fit in a year. That must be quite, exciting, but also frustrating for them because they also know that the objective at the end is to kind of become successful at it in their own right. So, are all of the girls who apply finish the program, or did you find that some girls don't finish the program because maybe it's overwhelming or for any other reasons?
So in Brazil, they all finished it.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's intense. It's intense. But they all finished it because they all had really the appetite for growth. Which I think then, the intuition or the feeling was good in terms of how we recruit. So that's why also after we started to reduce the size of the group because we are thinking people will drop. So we started with 6, and then we were 6 again in Zanzibar. And on 6 in Zanzibar, we had only 5 passing the IQ. The only reason is that the sixth one, she didn't make enough progress in terms of English, so she wouldn't have understand the IQ course. So
Mm.
we decided it's not gonna be for now, and we might put her in the next one in November. We are still seeing like, okay, how it's gonna go. But the rest, but still, the group was super stick until the end. She even come to the IKEA to take them pictures, the social media and everything. So still a group until the end. And the rest of the group did what they needed to do because, we have, the level for IKEA. You need to do a jump grab, a jump transition. You have this list of things. So throughout the year, we make them, okay, like now you passed the first exam, so you did this and this, like the jibe, the transition, the upwind. Okay, you tick that. Then it's going to be like the first jump, the pop, So then they can really see where they are and tick all the boxes. Um, and when they tick all these boxes, they can go to the IQ training. And it's sometimes difficult, yes. But it's also what's make them like super proud also, and really motivated. And I think being a good group also make them like motivated, the being going together, and they can see the opportunity because they live in two places, where you have kite in front of you every day, so you
Yeah.
can also potentially go kiting quite often. So yeah, it's not easy, it's intense. That's the whole challenge of this project, like to go full on into 1 year, like so intense, so intense. And still, like even when you pass your IKEA, you have a couple of internship to continue to progress, and then you're going to continue to progress your writing, your teaching, and it's like even when you arrive at the end, like it's just the beginning, it's just a continuation of your growth journey in the end. So. So yeah, it's super intense, but they are super proud of themselves after, even though everything in that is hard makes you super proud after. And then it's a whole growth journey that is at least started and you can continue forever.
Mm. But it must make you incredibly proud as well. And it must be fulfilling for you. Something that we started the conversation on, where you just wanted to do something to help people. And now you can actually see the results of your labor so vividly, especially with, you said, the two girls in Brazil who are part of the Duotone Center. That's huge.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's cool. And even sometime in the first step, when you see them starting to have the first smile of riding or the first like downwinds or the emotion and the happiness, even before is already like super satisfying and super motivating, because then you're like, okay, that's whatever happened, already bringing this happiness is already so satisfying, and then all the rest is, I would say, not bonus, but it's amazing. No, I think it's make me realize that yeah, some people say like the way to be happy is to help others reach their objective of be happy themselves. And I
Mm.
felt like it was with this project, it was so true, because yeah, when you see other people like growing, being happy, reaching their objective, really becoming proud of themselves, especially when it's women, from sometime like a very difficult situation, like some stories of the girls are insane. Like some girls come from so far. Then when you see them like reaching even just this space of happiness that is yeah, let's say, kiting is a kind of elitist, it's a very expensive sport and everything. So even giving them the access to this and to this year of growth that is maybe a bit insensitive, but also like so much happiness and connection with other women, like in Zanzibar, for example, they never had a year like this, because they didn't study like us in Europe, where you have your student years, blah, blah, blah. They never had like this, a group of friends, like you would go at school and you would have fun and you would help each other and you would be sharing a sport and a passion. So even just these small things of happiness is already like so satisfying and so, yeah, really, really amazing. And then, yeah, when they even achieve like even a higher objective, it's it's cherry on the cake. It's amazing.
In a way, you also help to change the culture a little bit, I guess, right? Like, and change the stigma around women in sports. I think there was a movie about, it's called Skateistan, I think. You know, it's about the girls skating in Afghanistan as well. And that was also changing their lives in such a fundamental way of getting over the notion that women don't do sports or girls don't do sports, right? So, like, as you mentioned, Zanzibar is a really good example, and it's such a cool thing that you actually came in first through the culture by asking questions. So in a way, it's kind of, you know, the design thinking. You need to find out what the problem is first to fix it or to elevate them, and not just come and say, hey, like, do you want to be a kite instructor?
Yeah, yeah, and about this, so yeah, and also for me it was a bit stressing because at the beginning I was like, how it's, you arrive here and you're like, okay, how are you gonna say to girls, okay, let's go kiting, and maybe, people are gonna be like, what are you doing with our girls, and
Yeah.
so at the beginning, I was really undercover a lot because I was, trying to sense a little bit. Actually, when you arrive in a place and you don't know the culture, you don't know who to trust, you don't know yet connections, things like this, sometimes it's so very like your sixth sense is are you at its maximum, and you're trying to how you get smoothly into it. So it's interesting moment. But and what it was really interesting was, so, for example, these two girls that wear the hijab, were there are three of them, but one is especially very, very committed. So when I spoke to her the first time I met her, she's going to the Quranic school every night. She's praying 5 times per day. So she's very, very into her religion and her culture, her heritage. And at the same time, so then she was like, and he was like a guy. His name is Hassan. He has a kite school in Paget, and he found her because he said like, I have clients. They told me like, I don't have like a woman instructor, and you have like some Muslim men that come from Arabic country, and they would like women to teach their wife kiting.
Mm.
So then Hassan, this guy, came to the village and started to speak who wants to, do kiting, and then he found this girl because she's a very strong woman that collected seaweed in the water, and it was also doing like some work of translation between seaweed farmer and foreigner corporation to do business. So she's a very trusted woman from her community, very religious, but in the same time she's very like she has her own character, and at the beginning she said, no, I don't want to do this, and then she said, okay, I want to try. I will see if I like it. And she said, well, after actually we like it. So then that's how he started to train them a little bit. And it's super interesting because for me it's a very good example of she's and she comes however she wants, she rides however she wants, like, and I really like it because she's a woman that have her heritage, have her culture, have her religion, but at the same time, she continued to be whoever she wants, and she show like you can have a religion, have a culture, have a way, and at the same time be an instructor or a kiter or whatever and have fun. So this was super interesting and super inspiring for me in the sense that, she have all of this, but she also wants to be something else. She can be and I like this thing of, you can be whoever you want, you can be super religious and at the same time a kiter, or you can be not religious at all, a business person or whatever, and a kiter also. So I think it was a super, it's a super interesting example. And these girls, I think, are already starting to inspire their village, and maybe even more like Muslim women. So we are even thinking if it could be something to do like a concept of a school friendly for Muslim women, or so they feel more comfortable. Because like we don't really have, I personally don't have any like point of view on this. Like I think like a woman, they can do whatever they want, and yeah, so they are really very interesting example, and very, very inspiring example.
It's such a good mention as well, because you also say example. So she's an incredible example to her community, right? And if we're talking about Brazil has so many role models for female kite surfing, right? Like Bruno Cagia is the biggest one, but there's a few more who are in like surf kite surfing. And um, so I guess girls there have this really cool examples of that, the representation even on the international level of female kite surfers. And then I don't think that, as you said, I haven't seen any representation of a girl who's fully covered kite surfing. That would be so cool to see, but it doesn't, I don't know, maybe because I need to clean up my algorithms in general. Maybe it is a big thing in the other side of the world. But that would be such an incredible example to set as well, like to girls who aspire to do something with their life, but they don't have an example like that, right? So, like, she is one, and that's really cool. And if we can see more of her on the socials, that would be so amazing because I mean, there's so many examples on other sports as well, right? So, like, also Nike, all of the sports brands, they make special clothes that stay on. They don't like flap with the wind or whatever. Like, perhaps kitesurfing brands and surfing brands should switch to that as well, if they haven't yet. But I don't really know, so I'm not really that aware in that area. That's such a cool example, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're a very good example. Yeah. And so we often use their pictures also on the social, you might have seen,
Yeah.
because yeah, it's like something that you don't see often, and that is a powerful message, I think. And one of the girls is even like divorced. She got married, but then she divorced because she wanted to study, and her husband didn't want. He wanted to provide, and he didn't want her to study and have a job, so she decided to divorce, and she's part of our program also. So yeah, they have such amazing story, and I think that's one of my frustrations sometimes, is that they have so much powerful stories, and sometimes I struggle to to get it through the website or the social media.
Yeah.
So we had the chance to have a magazine that got interested. It's a French one, but that got interested into the story, and did an article on them just recently and made a post. So it helped us like tell the story, and that's why also I was happy to do this podcast, because I'm trying to think about how we help them, like having more storytelling,
Mm.
like yeah, have their story more shared, because they have amazing ones. So I need to think like how we do better videos, better things, so they can also like get the clients, get more visibility, get so to help them in the next phases.
Mm.
So yeah, their story are amazing, and the challenge is how we make it more heard.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it would be really amazing to tap into female kite surfers who have a broader reach online and broader reach in the kitesurfing world. I did look at your website, and I did actually see that you put the girls' profiles on, and to say that they're available soon for booking to do the lessons with, that's pretty cool as well. I think that will help for sure. But some of them are graduating later on next year or something, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we're starting on the visibility, and the idea would be like, yeah, to build a little bit more of a channel of acquisition of client with the social
Yeah.
media and everything. But yeah, that's another story, another story. But yeah, like yeah, I think one thing is that yeah, they have like amazing story. Each time I tell the story from one group to the other group, also they're like, wow, it's amazing, and people have like tears, and they're like, wow. And in the same time, I feel like how can you make it visible in this flow of things in social media and internet? I think
Mm.
it's a bit of a challenge, but it's a good challenge. It's an interesting challenge. That's why we like it.
There needs to be a momentum, there needs to be a momentum for it to pick up, I think. Um, you said that is it 3 locations that you've already established the program in, or there's more?
Yeah, so in Morocco, we started
Mm,
to set it up in collaboration with a hotel by Dune Canyon. So we went there. We had like a lot of application. We had like 80 plus application. So a lot of interviews also, and then we chose the profile, and then it was a little bit difficult because there was a little bit of a difficulty in like who like really manage the project the way they want, who is kind of leader of the project. So then in the end, we decided like, why didn't Canyon like continue by itself to manage it, and it's still going on, it's doing super well. So it's also like a way of thinking like, okay, so we just helped a little bit, gave an idea, structure, helped in the thing, but we helped initiate something else. And then also it's true that some private, hotels or structure can also do their own thing. So we can just help them setting up, and then they can manage. So we can have more impact in focusing in other places. So it's also a way that is nice to increase the impact. Sometimes we don't do everything ourselves, but we just help out. So it was a cool, good setup. And then now we are opening a second one in Guyu. So it's actually running on since a couple of months, but it was low season, so they were just having English classes during the low season.
mm.
I'm gonna go like tonight to bring all the gear, do a bit of coaching and everything. Oh, no, actually tomorrow morning, early morning. So yeah, we managed to we also like evolving like at the beginning with the equipment. We were having like second-hand equipment, but then it was like breaking quite fast. There's some places it's super expensive. Like for example in Brazil, it's expensive, the second-hand gear, and it's not really good quality. And so step by step, because we started to gain like more trusts and building more the project, so we started to be able to make connection and to get good deals. So was a way to like for the same budget or even maybe less, we have now way better quality. So that's cool. So it's super exciting. I'm super happy to bring that to the girl. Now they have better gear than me. uh, but it's no, it's that's also cool. I think also one thing like I'm just saying it because I know like sometimes I have a bit the question, something like this. I think in this kind of project is super important to build trust around you. Super important to put other people interest or the interest of your project also first. So sometimes it made me like like choosing this project made me take decisions that are more difficult for me, or like not putting me in my adventures, something like this. But my key thing is really to think about trust. Like if you want to do this kind of project on longer term, if you want to bring this opportunity to more women to the future, and to develop this like more on the long term, trust is the most important thing you can do. So that's why like even with the brand you work for, or the people who gave you funds, it's super important to be like to think about your project, your objective first, and not about yourself first. So you can create trust, and trust like can is a more sustainable and long-term impact than just thinking about yourself, your visibility, your own interest, or something like this. So yeah, just a little tips, because I heard often heard like people think, oh, how will you do?
I I really like the fact that you also set up uh, just the program, but not as part of the program in Morocco. That's kind of like a really cool idea for places that you said that maybe don't have an airport next to them, or the places that you said that you might have considered, but they don't tick all of the boxes to be fully kind of managed by you. That could be some sort of like packaged program that's affiliated with you. That could be part of the offering, I guess, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, that sounds really interesting too.
Yeah, like a toolbox. And actually, we saw
Mm.
an initiative in Africa called Win Family Africa in Kenya. And they started also to do initiative, and we had a bit of a call. We exchanged, how do you do? When do you do? It's nice because, yeah, when you work in this area, you're not in competition. You're just like, well, it's good if actually we have, there is other project going on. It's nice. It's a good sign. And you're happy to help each other, where like if you work into more the business industry, it's going to be like more fighting each other, to do that. So that's really cool. Yeah, that's something we could could think more in terms of how we can multiply impact with the same amount of resources. Yeah, like giving like ready to use a kit to
Mm.
set up your own program. Yeah.
Because at the end, the objective is to empower women, right? So not to specifically, not exactly to make money or to get your own visibility, but as you said as well, to elevate those voices, right?
Yeah, yeah. To help these women like get into the sports, unlock the barriers, whatever they are, if they're cultural or financial or gears or whatever, and help them like generate their own wealth, their own money, their own income. So really, the idea and also the way we select a woman is that they need to have an opportunity to elevate their life after the project, and that's also make them like stick to the project, because if you have someone that is, that have a higher level of living and is there like just a little bit for fun, you know, then they're not gonna last the intensity of the program, because it can be a plus in their life but not necessary. Then they're gonna give up also. So that's why, like in terms of criteria, the ability of elevating their life is important, and the idea is that they can go out of the project with a better life, more opportunities in terms of incomes, of work. Another. Sometimes it can be another skill in their portfolio. Like in Mexico, they are already a bit in the diving industry, but when there is no wind, when there is too much wind, they cannot dive. So it's perfect. So it's complementary, because I believe also the portfolio of skill is important. Sometimes like not relying on only one skill is important. Then you can play on different one. So even for you, you don't burn out of one skill. You can play on different portfolio. So yeah, the objective is to support women and to make their own money. So from there, you have unlimited way to do it. So yeah, a lot of opportunities.
And elevate their life with elevate. I think you got the you just got the like partnership or a good deal with Elevate Kites. I think it's very fitting.
Yeah, good catch.
That's they're gonna elevate them to the next heights, I guess. You said like one thing that funds the project is this fund. The is it called Blue Fund or
Yeah,
yeah,
from
and
Jean-Baptiste.
yeah, exactly. Maybe you can just tell a little bit about this and maybe of the terms of the fund as well. Is there a limited time that you have to do the proof of concept? Have you like proved the concept already? And are you looking for other sponsorships or other support for the project?
So Jean-Baptiste is the one deciding the budget that is going to be put in this fund. But because it's a organization, they have like board member, so that's gonna validate the decision. So once per year, they do like assessment. Once a year in general, they do assessment and they say, okay, how did it progress? Do we continue? Do we what are the watch outs? What are the good points and things like this? And so we had one just not too long ago, a month ago. And last time they had it was a year ago. So they see a lot of progress. They see, wow, you did a lot of things with not too many resources, doing a lot of things. So, and so they validated that we proved the concept that yes, it can, because the first question was, can it work that you tell to women they can go from zero to hero in 1 year? And I think that's where like a lot of people say, no, it's impossible. And I was like, yeah, of course. Because like by for example, I went to Brazil, and in 7 weeks I was just like riding like 5 hours per day. And then at the end I was having the level. If I wanted, I could have been instructor at the time, in the sense like, okay, I was doing a lot of tricks like one above. So it was like, okay, 7 weeks, okay, so let's say 2 months. So if you do like on a year, people who live in this spot, in theory it's possible that, if you put intensively yourself in 1 year, and living in this spot where it's windy enough, like it looks like it's possible. And so the first thing that we needed to validate was this ability that can we help women to have this accelerator, this incubator. During 1 year, they go intensively and they can reach that. So this, they validated it. So that's got very well approved. So then it helped us. So then like reaching to these results, we can continue to get the fund and the project validated to continue. And then what it was interesting also because the outcome were like, okay, now how do we also help them beyond to get the client, to like continue the career, or even work or create their own business or things like this. So that's cool because it opened no possibilities of things that we can do. And also the storytelling was one of their things. How we bring the story. Yeah, good question. Working on it. At this stage, we have good. So we don't need more fund in the sense that we have this budget that is set, and it's going well for now. So for now, we're good. So as far as we continue to make the project work and survive and go well and go do, it's going to be all right for us. And of course, like, for example, like negotiating with different brands and, for example, with Elevate and stuff, help us like make better with the budget that we have assigned, and to find other ways to improve what we can bring to the girls. But yeah, for now it's going good. I think in general, like what we can improve more is especially this part of storytelling and everything. This, so we are thinking about how we can crack this. Thinking about some solutions, some small things for now, but yeah.
And I think more brands should get on, like, especially kitesurfing brands should get on board with sponsoring a project like this, And it's like, it's such a good karma for them, specifically, but also, I mean, just getting a really cool role model and kind of like a model for the brand, apart from like the stereotype that usually is portrayed, I think, on the socials and on the websites and everything. I think it's such a cool example. Um, yeah. I hope you get more. I hope
Yeah.
sponsorships beyond the Elevate. So hopefully more brands see this and reach out. How can how can I support as a, not maybe like as a podcast or like a person with an Instagram, but if are there any donations that are accepted? Is there any other means that people can actually, from the broad kitesurfing community, support this project?
To be honest, I think the biggest thing would be to help in terms of visibility, sharing the stories and sharing the stories of women. Because as I said, my biggest objective now is also how we can help them to gaining visibility and make their own money and have or even like a work opportunity, traveling and things like this. So why not for them? Even though the idea is also to help them like build their own business in the community, but like share visibility. And I think it's also like connecting with them. If you go there, or if you have friends going there, like don't hesitate to tell them, okay, go connect with them, so they can build also more connection. They can meet because they are really incredible people. And sharing time with them, even though if it's also like give it a bit of coaching on something, helping them a trick, or even sending them like students, because especially when they are in the program. Sometimes I had friends telling me, "Oh, I'm going there. Can I do something?" And I was like, "Actually, the best you can do is go riding with them and give them like coaching, some time, to help them like continue to like some tricks, some tips, how you do in the kite community. So really like helping them to build their network, their visibility." And if you have friend going there, like tell them, okay, go with them, because then if you go with them, then they're gonna make good money. The idea is also we said it was saying it's trying to see a way to so they can get maximum value out of the lessons, because that via school sometimes it's a bit more complicated. So I think it would be about sharing their story, sharing their visibility. Whenever if someone or someone, tell them like go hang out with them, give them some tips, motivate them, because like being part of this is so good for them, building their network, because you connect to make friendship, and maybe they can have opportunities helping in the network. And then sometime like In general, it was more for equipment. Sometimes, like people have an equipment that they don't use, like a board, a kite, or something like this. Rather than getting like €100 out of it, they would donate it to the people. So that's also something really cool. It's a way to help. Way to help. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they would donate them on the spot, I guess, right? Like if they're coming over.
Yeah, they can donate it directly to them, or they can tell us, and we can say, okay, maybe this person missed something, or this person, so we can attribute, but we can help coordinate, and that's something that could be possible.
How can people actually find and contact the girls? Like, so on the website, you don't have the contact form yet, but you're working on it, right? So is that the best way to do it?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be like for now we have them on Instagram, so I can even directly like people. I receive message now from people like, "Hey, can I have a lesson with them?" And so, for example, now in Zanzibar, we're still working a little bit on the setup, so I think we're gonna define one girl that's gonna centralize for the other. But there is also a direct DM. We can be contacted also on Instagram, us like Rise with the Wind. And we can give them like direct contact. And the idea is that on this form, online form, I think it's going to be probably like a direct WhatsApp conversation link. So like this, if someone wants to get in touch with one, they can directly contact through WhatsApp with them and say like, okay, let's go riding or let's go for a lesson or something like this. The idea is that it's really make it simple. Beginning was thinking about the form a bit, but I think we want to make it very simple, to make it very easy to connect with all of them.
Yeah, just go straight to them. Mm. How are you, like, you're juggling so many things and you're organizing so many spots. How is your own love for kite surfing doing? Do you, when you go to these places and you work on the stories and you work on a concept, do you also take time to go kite surfing just for yourself, or are you too busy to do it now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I still take time. But also I've been kiting so much that also now I'm kind of find sometime if I skip a session because I need to work on something like this, I'm also fine now because it's super like transferring and bringing to others, and especially this woman that cannot access anything like this is so satisfying. Then for me, it's not a big drama now if I skip some. It's something that I switch. Before I was like, I can. Now I'm kind of okay if I skip a session because I need to do either some laptop work or I need to coach them. I'm fine with it because I had plenty of time to kite for myself, and also my injury kind of also like now I'm like. Does it worth it to push further because I don't want to do competition or anything like this. So I found my satisfaction on something else, but I still do kite with a lot of pleasure. And I also started like wing foil, more strapless. I varied more, and also like lately it was also because end of last year, I was also having a groups doing kite trips. I was collaborating with a shop for like a brand ambassador, plus this project, plus the accompaniment of people, in the change of orientation and works. So I had like so much. So I start to clean up, and 2026 has been the year where I've been starting to do less but more focus. So I focus more on these projects with the association because it's really what I like. That give me like so much satisfaction, and also working into accompanying people into changing also their work or their life. So that's the two things that I kept. And I removed the ambassador and the trip, so I can and I can also like kite more for myself, because if not, after you go kiting, you need to take videos. So I kind of okay, now I need a moment where I really just kite for myself, just not for guiding people or kite trip, not for teaching, coaching, not for brands, just for me. So I'm in a phase now where I do less, but I really do it for myself, and also I'm okay if I skip some because I'm either working on this on coaching this girl or this or building this project or helping people also like change their life. So it's yeah, because it's like so, yeah, exciting for me to see the transformation you can bring to other. That's, yeah, it's okay. But I still do a lot of things that I'm still like, yeah, I would love to do, yeah, even more like more wing foil and more strapless and other things also.
Sometimes strapless is even more fulfilling because you kind of get into the sense of flow, right? Yeah, especially if there's waves, you just completely switch off.
Yeah, I really like it because you're so connected all the time. The environment is changing, where so you always have to be super connected with the wave and how it's going. While twin tips, you're like, okay, always on the flat and
I
doing
need
the
to do
same
the
trick
jump.
again and again, same trick again and again. Yeah, I feel like a little bit stuck now into my twin tip part, so I'm happy to do other things, to do other things. Each moment, I take the most of what I have into the spot, and if I can.
It's great to see that you still have great passion for the sport for yourself and you find actually enjoyment in it because sometimes, especially with doing as much work as you do in it, you sometimes kind of like lose the interest or lose the passion. And it's
Yeah.
beautiful that you haven't. So it's for life, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, but we discussed about that, and it's something, yeah, that is important because we discussed about it with the girl actually in Mexico that were diving instructor for years, and they told me like, yeah, at some point in my life, after I think 5 years of doing diving, I burned out of it and I was hating it. And I was like, how is that possible? I think that made me the most happy, like is not anymore. So at that moment, they find another way, like another activity, something else. They stay back a little bit. And that's how they kept the love on the long term. So I think it's also something that is, again, when you come back to, like romanticizes, quitting everything and living the kite surfing lifestyle, it's something like you need to be aware of that the day you're gonna be also into this kite surfing for 100% of your time, it can also become a golden cage, actually, So, and at some point, I kind of also felt it. Like I was like, before I was like, okay, it's my community and I'm so happy to see these people again. And then at some point, so I was like, okay, it starts to be the same people having the same conversation, the same. So I felt also at some point, my world was starting to be a bit more limiting and I was getting like maybe stuck into identity of kite surfing. So, and I think it's super important and that's why also I worked also more like people that have a very different life on a change of orientation or work, because it's a problematic that touch a lot of people outside of kite surfing. Um, and then I opened my world to more things. And I think, yeah, it's very important because if not, you can start to be like, in the same things, you can be limited again. Like it's very weird because I feel like, yeah, I came to this world that is very free, that open a lot, but then if you stay also a lot into this, then you can get stuck and your identity can get stuck also. And I realize also then that making these changes and also like working, that's why also I have this activity of people that is not connected to kite surfing, because then like it helped me also remember myself that I'm not one identity. I'm not a kite surfer, a kite instructor, or a marketer or engineer. I'm the kind of soul that switch into this, and whatever the moment, I can decide to switch. It's just like an identity is just like a dress that you wear and you can change. So it helped me also, okay, think like, okay, I'm not stuck in one box. Whatever moment I feel like I need to do something else, then I do something else. And so that's why like I found my balance in having like kite surfing connected thing and also non-kite surfing activities that are more like broad.
Or Leilani, you're just a girl or just a woman and you can do anything or everything. We're
Yeah,
just so good at multitasking.
but the thing is that, yeah, the kite surfing or the passion burnout is something real. And
Yeah, for
something
sure.
like people also maybe before told me like, yeah, but be careful. The best way to lose your passion into kite surfing is to become an instructor. And I was like, whatever. And in Sicily, I didn't feel it because I was like, every day I was kiting after my lessons. I was like having fun, even if it was 12 knots. But you can feel like at some point limited but it's like then it's a good sign. It means like you're still growing, and it's amazing if the sport bring you a lot and you can still do a lot of things connected to this. But I would recommend still to like have other thing outside because it's like the way you continue to grow.
Yeah, exactly. I just was thinking about the same, right? You burn out when you're stuck, right? So when you don't have anywhere to move, as you put it really well, like you're in this golden cage, right? And like you need to find, you either grow in that what you're doing, or you need to grow in some other areas, and that's how you kind of pull yourself from the burnout. I've been there too, not with the kite surfing, but it's very true that you need to switch your brain into some sort of like you need to achieve something. That's what you're aiming for, and it doesn't matter what it is. Sometimes I just like finish a crochet project, and that's very satisfying as well. So I
Yeah.
really, really like your mindset. I think it's such a cool way to put it. And in general, a lot of the ideas that you were pitching is really cool. So I really hope that everything works out for you, and that is going to be a more like a bigger and more recurring project without the burnout attached to it. So
No worries, it will be okay. No, but thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for your good wishes. I wish you also the best for your podcast and any project you would have on the side. And maybe I see you somewhere in a kiting spot.
yeah, that would be so cool. Let's see. Thank you for listening to the entire episode, folks. And I hope you picked up something from this episode today, because I know I did. So there's a lot of insights for me personally in the way of changing my life, maybe integrating kite surfing into my work more, but also in the way that I wish I supported women in kite surfing more, especially when they're trying to support their livelihood with it. And if you are going to any of these locations in Brazil, in Zanzibar or Mexico, give these girls a shout. Maybe just even hang out with them. If you're really good at kite surfing, give them some tips. If you have some gear, bring some gear. So any ways that you can help to highlight the profiles of these girls on your socials, please do that. It doesn't take that much. So let's elevate all of these profiles and these voices on the socials, because they deserve it. And as usual, please like, subscribe, comment if you like, and we'll see you for the next one. See you.